Hey, I'm Hammerhead, and today we're going to talk about manifolds. I think we should start at the intro. So let's talk about the drums first, because that was the starting point of this intro. What I did here was this group. This group was the starting block of everything. I didn't know what to do at the time. I just wanted to lay down some drums and find ideas to get on top of it. So this is a loop of the Noisia sample pack. Nothing really fancy, and this one will be quite in the back. Here is the main one. Just a big dumb beat that I made. I probably made this from scratch. Yes, operator, operator, and operator. And this is all heavily affected, just to make some drum texture. And even though it doesn't really respect what drums should be doing in an intro, like being kind of clean and everything, having no phase issues or whatnot, as you can see, there's a big grain delay doing this thing with the dry wet at 31%, OTTs and everything. And it's just like to force myself to find something on top of this, even if I end up not using it. There's a jet flying over my house. Am I gonna get bombed? Apparently not. Altogether, that's what's going on, and I even affected it even more to make it even messier. And of course with a lot of reverb, very short reverb, to make it as a background thing. But that's all it was meant to be. Let's move on to more drums. So now that I have this little background, I can build on top of it. And instead of going into synth and everything, because this still acts, I don't want to say like a synth, but as it acts as a background element, I need to have something clean on top of it. And that means real drums. With the kick, with the snare, hats, and of course I'll have to dial back that group. I don't remember which value it was, but yeah, it was quite in the back. And even more hats, because I never have enough. So, all together, and we can start talking about the drums processing. So for this track, the drum processing is quite heavy. I have this little rack I made, which is something where I just compress with multiband compression, dial back the output from the multiband compression, and then push it back up again with utility. I don't know why I thought of this. It might be stupid, but it makes some stuff sound right. You're gonna hear me quite a lot say today, because I frankly don't know what I'm doing. Yeah, so this is compressed. Some slight EQing, which is mainly this high pass, which is only this high pass, and I'm pushing the drums quite hard. As you can see, the volume right here is at 3.1, so everything pushes really hard into the master, and it goes even harder when the drop comes in, but we're not there now. This snare is made up of 3 snares, which are all my own, I guess. So this one is just one perk I made with some frequency shifting, just to tune it at a tone that feels right again. It feels more unstable that way, I think. This one would be the main one. which is an old snare, and this one is severely affected too because of this whole chain, this whole ass chain, which also has frequency shifting. Yeah, right here. Yeah, it's normally quite low, and for some reason I like it when it's shifted quite high, with a lot of reverb too. That's basically it. The way I thought about it, I guess, was just having a nice tone, a nice snare, and something that would act as a background snare, just to make it a little bit more lively, I guess. More drums, I think, at some point. Yes. So this is from Addictive Drums, which is, you know, there's Addictive Drums and Superior Drummer, those drum sampler things, which emulates real drums. Did I pitched it? Yes, quite. I used grain delay too because I like how grain delay makes everything sound. Again, a bit unpredictable. It degrades it a little bit because of the pitch shifting and frequency shifting. So it almost sounds like something that was sampled from a classic drum loop, but it's not the case. It's just a drum loop I made. Nothing really fancy. And I use this again just for the build-up. More drums. Here, these are some claps. Nothing really fancy too. This is 909 or 808 clap, whatever. More claps I made. For some reason they're very tiny and you can barely hear them, but that's part of the process. It's just adding stuff that only I know about. Hey, what can you do? And now let's get into this group, which I call bass, which is not only basses, it's usually my main elements in the very section I'm working on. So, as I was saying, I was working on this track in panic mode, which is, holy shit, I have to find ideas, and I had to find anything. So I was laying down drums and trying to find something to fit on top of it. And I just went to Splice and found this little guitar sample. And I'm just using this little beat right here that I'm pitching down with shifter, which feels a bit dirtier. That's what I like. Then there is this chord that has shitload of grain delay that I played around with. I made a little session playing with this little chord and grain delays, and it gave me this. I just had to arrange it into my little intro to make it kind of make sense, even if it's very abstract. More of that little session, but shorter. I think this one is the pitched one, yes. So the original one is this one. So now I have those elements plus the drums. Now, I took, there's a lot of that into this project. I went into my record sessions of sound design and I took something, which is this. Which is just, apparently, from what I can see from the naming, this is something that had a lot of feedback and delay. Then, this thing is, again, from a sound design session, which is just a saw. But just because I dragged it from a file and I don't have to think about, oh shit, what am I gonna do? It just exists and I just dragged it in and okay, so now I have a set tonality. I just pitched it up one semitone and EQ'd it quite heavily. But now I have a tonality for my track. I can keep building on top of that. And now we're getting into this little ARP. As you can see, it's not very proper. I haven't EQ'd this at all. It's just, and I should, but I didn't. And it's just, yeah, just a square wave, some filtering, a lot of reverb, a lot of delay, some slight shifting. As you can see, the dry rate is very low. This grain delay also. It adds that little in the top end, and even more reverb. And why not? Next, again, this one is from a sound design session. This one. Me playing with a synth and some delay and grain delay and OTT. And just extracting little notes from that and just trying to use it in a musical way. And that's, I think, what is fun about this way of working, is finding ways of making sense of whatever. That's fun to me. But we are starting to get some personality out of this. Now, this is... What is this? Something with We Are Freer. Oh, yeah. And it is heavily spectralized for whatever reason. That's what I wanted. Hey. A saw wave that is filtered. And all of this is being played together into this group with some heavy compression. And that's it. What's the next thing into this big group? So this is a bit more noticeable in the final track, I guess. So this is a little FM bell I made with Operator, which is basically just playing with different ratios on different oscillators that are all playing sines, and playing with the envelope to make it more FM. And because of the grain delay, it feels more weird, especially with the shifter afterwards. So that's the melody, and grain delay is doing this, and the shifter is doing this. So it's more dissonant, and it makes less sense. Hey. I resampled it, and it is played at twice its speed, I guess. And still been pitched down 1 octave. So again, this is how I try to find ideas. Is I have this idea that I designed, then I'm gonna resample it, playing it at another speed, at another pitch, and now if I don't have a new element, I have another layer. And this is a one shot from something that I just play on this sampler. And that's pretty much it. Heavy compression, reverb, some overdrive to emphasize the top end. Helps make it feel more lively. And no, it wasn't in the same group. No, it wasn't. I'm stupid. Next. Synth, finally. Why does it move that much? Because of the filter. So let's take out the filter, and we have just a saw that is filtered. I have this little movement on the filter, and it's being distorted. That's why we have this little tone in the lower mids. Nothing very crazy going on. We have Serum. Hello, you're not Operator. As you can see, I'm using overdrive twice just to emphasize the low and the highs to, again, make it more lively again. And again, it's just a saw, nothing on it. I could have used Operator, but I didn't. A lot of reverb, very short one. Just to create that space and emphasize it with multiple compression. So together we have a dry low end and a mid-range top end that is more spacey. And afterwards, just again, another saw wave with very slight noise LFO on the pitch. Chorus to make it feel like a Reese. Make it more unstable. Again, some overdrive, heavy reverb. And I'm trying to keep this around this range. So all of those layers complete each other. And now you can see that I am starting to work to contrast every other part. Like this one feels, even if it has some reverb and some delay, it still feels close and dry. And this one is more wide and more in the background. And that's how I approach designing with layers, is everything has to respond to each other, not only vertically, horizontally in your arrangements, but also vertically in layers. I am repeating myself. Some effects straight out of a sound design session that is pitched down quite a lot, twice. I guess to bring even more color to the whole thing, so added with those. And the reason why I try and pitch it that way is to find a note that works with everything else. It's kind of random the way I just drag a big file like this, because I think it's kind of big, yeah, and try to find a little tone that I like and try to pitch it to a note that makes sense in the whole arrangement. It's not just a FX or a glitch that is just meant to be an FX or a glitch. It is, but it has to make sense tonally. We have this little serum, which is... Oh, it's not a saw. It's something that is supposed to sound like a horn, but it doesn't really work. Yeah. Is it a horn? I don't know. The all pass does a lot of work. I don't know, something I came up with on the spot, I guess. But it's more fun with the grand delay. Again, this little spot right here creates nice stuff. It acts like a delay that is pitched up one octave. Lots of reverb, distortion, and EQing. Next, we're getting into lots of cuts. So, this one, I made this sample quite a while ago, I guess 2018 or 2019. I remember this one very vividly. And it's a triangle wave. I know there's a really famous sample that sounds like this, that is a vocal, but I'm gonna trace back my whole thought process behind this one. Okay, so this is an old French song that I was learning on the guitar back at the time, back in the day. And there is this little moment where there is this synth that does exactly this. And I downloaded the track and I watched it into the DAW and I saw what it was. It was just a triangle wave. And there it is. It's the same things and same synth English. So I just remade it and it's just a pitch modulation with distortion. And it sounds more like the famous sample that I don't remember where it's from. But yeah. Okay, that was a tangent. My very famous, that I very invented, Zap, which is just a saw wave being granulated by the texture mode and then some delay. This is from a sound design session, I guess. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. I think that was from a session I did playing with the emulation of the ARP something, a very old synth, and I just recorded myself playing with it and made those things. I think that I don't remember the name of the synth, but that's the one that was used to create the R2D2 sounds. If you know, tell me in the comments, because you know better than me. Next. This is the whole thing, but resampled. And it's resampled just by also pitching it 1 octave higher with the bits mode engaged. So we have those nice little loop being made into the transients, in between the transients. And this is this whole group, which is also quite severely affected. Let's look at those effects right now. I have this grain delay and some taming of the mids. The grain delay isn't doing much right now. It's being used at some point just to bring down the pitch of everything. Yeah, right here. For a nice effect. I tame those down because everything is gonna get compressed. It's compressed quite a bit with this, again, the preset multimode compression, which is great. But the time is being pushed down because I want... why do I want that? Because having the time being so high makes for louder transients, and I want everything to be kind of flat. But still, I'm using it to push everything up. EQing, of course, and again, the reverb that will come at some point. Alright, and there's also this little operator. Alright, so the resample wasn't in the whole group. And I think this is the... Yeah. I think that sounds nice to have this set, because we get the whole tone of it, the whole personality of this intro. It's been emphasized by its resampling. And I have this same note, like this note right here is exactly this moment being resampled, and this note from the resample is this note. It's the same note, but right here I pitch it 10 semitones higher, which is 1 octave and 1 whole tone under. English. Lower, not under, lower. And it helps to create the transition between the two little sections. And also, it makes for a nice call, because I'm playing, I think the track is in D sharp? Is the track in D sharp? I should know this. Holy shit, I should know this. Yeah, it's in D sharp. If we're in D sharp here, we're here playing in C sharp. C sharp on the scale of D sharp minor is the 7th. And the 7th is calling for to come back into the D sharp minor. D sharp. So that's how it's used. Just 1, 7, 1. Classic arrangement thing. Alright, next. Holy shit, a saw wave. I didn't take the time to just resample it, I just bounced the group, bounced the track, because it's just a saw wave with an LFO on the pitch. Its pitch is rising. I have some delay on top of it, and that's it. That's the same thing here. Now, the vocal. So we have first this little thing, which is an SFX from Street Fighter, and this is a terribly and badly cut vocal of Redman, very severely affected too. I just try to push it up super hard and try and see what I can get away with. That's it. The shifter just makes it more weird. That's it, just crazy amount of compression. And I think there's even more in the group. That's it. Really. No real big thought behind it. Just I needed something that was like a vocal. I just grabbed it, put it there, affected just to push it up, and hey, I got a vocal on my track. That's it. This operator right here is in the same group for whatever reason. No, it's not. Yes, it is. It helps, I guess. Yeah. It makes for a nice bed of low end. Because this whole build-up sure is nice in the mid-range, but it's still lacking the tonality that was kind of strong during the intro, so I need to cut it back. Without having it, like, I could have a single note doing the, but it's not very interesting and it doesn't go well with the rhythm, so I need it to go to do, and that's it. I have elements of my drop going on in here. And this one. For these, I used samples from the stems of my track Homeboy. Because why not? It's... Do I have the whole thing? I don't think so. This is already being resampled. But that's the idea, is just to have more elements that I can play with tonally, and I don't have to think about designing it. I just have to think about writing. That's why doing some design sessions and doing resampling of your own stuff is useful. At least it is to me. This is even more resampling of Homeboy. Yep. I just play with it quite a lot with grain delay and shifter and try to fit it in with some EQing. But it's nothing really crazy. I just have to find some personality to that sample, and that will fit to my drop, or at least to my intro in that case. This is from the drop, so we're not gonna get into it right now. More stuff on the intro. Some little stuff going on with this. This is a very high-pitched something, which is normally a little harp that I made. To be totally frank with you, this track had maybe 5 intros at the time. I didn't really know what to do, so I wrote 5, maybe 6, or maybe 8 versions of this track for an intro. I had literally no idea, so I wrote so much stuff. And the good thing to this is I've ended up with a lot of material that I can resample. So this was part of it, and I just pitched it up plus 48, and I just got this little effect, and that was it. This is just a saw wave with a filter and some pitch movement. Again, the chorus is doing the re-sing. Serum FX is doing nothing, but it's there for some reason. Grain delay, of course. For some reason again. I don't know what I'm doing. This is this is a sample from my bass or my guitar, but this is this is my guitar. This is a very, very old sample. I think it dates back to 2014. Man. Some white noise made with operator, nothing crazy. This is from a sound design session. Yup. This is just me playing with signs. Yeah, and I'm pretty sure this is operator too. These are some signs with some grain delay and OTT. Same thing, just emphasizing a lot the low end before compressing everything together. So everything is more even, and because I don't use this in on the foreground of my track, yeah, it's there. Don't ask. And this group is just a resample of this whole thing being put in reverse with some reverb. That's it. That's my intro. This group contains, I guess, a riser. Look at that! A saw wave. This little movement, the do, is in the LFO. It's the saw down shape, which means it just this. So all together, you have this. Moving on to the buildup, and the buildup is somewhat interesting. So now I have the two resampling of those notes I showed you from the whole intro. So I have this one that is 1 octave higher, and this one at the normal octave. And it makes for a nice call. Again with the 7th. And so it leads into the fake out. That's why having those kind of calls is interesting, because it leads into sections. This group now, it is just one part of this just being repeated. And there's yeah, that's the grain delay right here, the pitch shifter of the grain delay that does the shifting. And that's it. And the reverb drives it up also. Okay, so what we have into the final version is the rendering of what I did with the drop. The whole thing is cut to what I wanted to do, but we'll get into the original group to see what's going on with the design and everything. There it is. So the main bass was made out of a sound design session where I was trying to make hard techno kicks, and it sounded like this. I'm gonna find the original session. That was my whole session of me trying to do techno kicks, and it's not kicks at all. I think I started recording when I got around the idea that, okay, no, that's not a kick. That's a bass. That's a dubstep bass. So I just fucked with it even more and just got this whole session that I still use from time to time. Lots of bass, but some nice texture in the top end. And more texture in the top end. And what I did is just take one of those little moments, just something like this, and then arrange it like so. Oh shit, I have a bass. And what's cool with this technique is that you don't have any kind of phase issue that way if your stuff is in a total mono, of course, and you can work on the transient of it just by playing with the fades, by nudging it left or right. I can play with the timing of it, and so I have this, and you'd be even more smart just to put this into a sampler in loop mode, and that way you would just have to play one note and not having to duplicate everything once you change something. But I am stupid. Disclaimer, this is in a group, which is in a group, which is in another group, which is in another group, and which is in the main group. So this is gonna get confusing, and that's why I did the render. That's one of the reasons I made the render. So render your shit, that's very important. Either to reuse it into another project or just to use it as is in the project. That would be another one of the main takeaway of this video, if you could get any. It is, or at least that's how I see it, is try and get as fast as possible to an audio render of your stuff. That is a way of committing to what you have and not to have choice paralysis, which is something I have very easily. That's one of the reasons I'm very slow at making music. This is one way of forcing yourself to generate ideas. Okay, now back to more confusing stuff. This is just that layer, but we have another one on top of it, which is those, which are just little bits from bass samples I made. Mainly for myself, but I think some are from my Patreon, I don't remember. Again, I did basically the same thing, which is find something with this kind of shape where we have a very clearly defined low end by those oscillations that you can see, and some very identifiable top end. And that works as a transient right here. Without all of those effects, it's just one percussive thing. Then those two overdrives gives it a bit more life. Let's push up the lows and create a nice tone right here, at least to emphasize the notes, and then play with it with the frequency shifter. And then it's being layered with this one. This one is more interesting because it has some stereo, but it's been created by the grain delay. And more phase instability with shifter being so low, and of course playing with grain delay. But whatever. And all of those are getting sent into another grain delay for even more instability and tone playing, I would call it. All of those are being played together, of course. And they are being sent into a group that I need to find, which is this one. This is the main rack that I'm using for the main basses. Let's take it out and let's laugh at this bass. Bass, you are so silly. It's clearly and horribly clipping bass. With only low end basically, because oh, look at that, the volume is super high. Let's take this down. So this would be a proper level for this, but it's not very nice to listen to. So let's push it up super hard to emphasize the low end and the tonality. Why am I pushing this low end even more? Because I can. Let's try and distort it. Now we're having just a little bit more mid-range coming out of this whole distorted thing. And the OTT will now even everything back together. Crazy, right? Of course, it's being pushed really hard into a saturator. That brings everything back down just a little bit. Some cleaning into the mid-range, so it's not too hard in there, just to make it nice to listen to. Then we're using Saturn to create some more harmonic content, which is very nice, and pushes everything back together. Then we have some EQing. I just needed apparently just 1 dB on the low end. I think this one came very late into the process. Some timing of the low mids, mid-side EQing, of course. This rack is coming, I think, at the end of a phrase, I guess. When does it come in? No, it's at the beginning. Oh yeah, it's the... I could have used Cabinet, the audio effect, but I did everything by hand, which is just an OTT to make everything even, some reverb, very high, very short. Everything is pushed quite hard for some reason on the gain right here. Less width, and again some more EQing. More EQing with more low end. This grain delay does something at some point. It's right here. Yeah, to create a little call before the next section. This saturator is being used as a wave shaper. Again, for a call to the next section. So this saturator, this wave shaper is very interesting. I like to use it because using it this way with the damp turned all the way up, it's acting almost like a gate. And I really like using wave shapers as gates. It makes for a really nice crunchy top end. And then some more EQing with a filter. And that's it. That's it for this rack, which will come back. I have another sub to emphasize the low end even more. It's being played into the same rack. Doesn't do that much, because I think this whole group is already very loud in the lower range. I have this little track that is not being used, so I'll just get rid of it. Again, this track, this project is hell. We have resamples from Homeboy. We have this track which is not used, but what is it? Oh, this was resampled at some point. This first bass, which is played right here, is interesting, I think. So this is made with a very simple technique that I really like, which I will demonstrate right now. We just have an operator right here playing a sine. We're gonna use arpeggiator, and we're gonna tune our arpeggiator with the millisecond activated, and we're gonna find our note. Should be around here. Okay, and now let's play with the pitch, with this pitch envelope. And that's how I made it. Now to tune it, I just have to play with the millisecond, the rate. And everything in my operator will now be used as some kind of tone generator, let's say. The cool thing with that is that I will always have this bed of tonality. Whatever is done with those ratios, I will still have this very specific note that is being played with the rate. So much possibilities. The way I used it was, of course, with quite a lot of distortion. Overdrive, EQing, compression, saturation, Saturn again. Yeah, that preset, it's a preset. Overdrive, delay to create some stereo. That is the trick of just having the ping pong activated, no feedback, a kind of low time, and dial in the amplitude of your stereo with the dry wet and focusing on whatever frequencies you want. It's not very precise, but it does the job of doing a phase correlated stereo created from a mono signal, and it sounds pretty nice. We have a sub that is being affected at the same time, and also some noise that is very low. Then I rendered all of that, and I get this at 1 octave higher. And this is our very famous yaw. Just a silly bass made from sines. Nothing crazy. Pretty sure I demonstrated this one in another breakdown video that may be on this channel. Some OTT and not. Okay, this is apparently an operator. Is it? Yeah, it is. I don't know what it's from. It's apparently operator. Is it this one? No, but this is being used at some point. This is the same technique, but at a totally different pitch. What's going on? Oh yeah, it's just the sub that was in the other patch that is just here played super high, and everything is being pitched down by the grain delay. But the whole process is the same, and it's being used somewhere in the drop. We have this, we have... this is a bit from the intro that I showed you before. Is it the whole unison thing? Yes, and it is from another sound design session. This is just, you know, the Serum saw wave with unison and some pitch on top of it, and that's it. This thing, how does it sound? Yeah, that was what I designed, and it's somewhere in my library. But I think it's basically the same idea, is having a unison thing and playing with the pitch, and then affecting it a lot with distortion and compression. Same thing here, but here the unison is not random. You can see it starts at the same point. I guess we have the... Yeah. It's all the same thing. Those three layers are just saws with unison. And this wave shaper is doing the same thing, like I was saying, using the wave shaper as a gate. That's kind of what I'm doing right here. So I'm just letting through some of the frequencies that are loud enough to go through this gate. And I'm dialing in what frequencies I'm doing this with an overdrive before. So I'm sure to focus on the mid-range because I already have an element that has a lot of low range. Again, like I was saying before, when you layer, try to just play with everything like fucking Legos. Everything has to, you know, fall into each other's pieces, if that makes sense. Okay, next section now. This is multiple sound design sessions. Again, taking just one small part of a long sound design session. So grain delay, lots of chorus and OTT. That's how I name my stuff, and I know what's going on. Being played with this, which is from a track. That's the whole stem of another track that I was working on. Yeah, so I just took a little piece of that and it made for a nice layer. That's pretty much it. Of course, I pitched it down. It's all in one group where, oh, there's not that much going on. But I'm pretty sure it goes into, yeah, it goes into this big rack. You know, this rack. This fucking stupid rack. And there's also this layer, which is comprised of multiple things for some reason. So I have this sub, plus this stem from another whip that I'm never releasing, I guess. Yeah, it's one of those tracks where I just make some sound design and put drums on top of it, and in the end it's just material for me to play with in a real track. And I think you should do that too. This is a good thing, I think. Again, another one from another track that I'm not releasing. Yeah, there was one layer into a track I was working on. Then we have this layer. Yes, more sound design sessions. So this is from the same session where I made the techno hard kicks that are not techno hard kicks. I'm gonna take out all of this processing and we're gonna see what's going on. It is something. Apparently it's like this. No, I'm pretty sure it's a resample. Basically, I'm just emphasizing those frequencies that I really need. I'm pretty sure the resampling I did was just playing with the pitch in texture mode, and then I repeated this, and the whole thing is just being pitched up with an envelope, but I rendered it. But I'm pretty sure that's it. And yeah, another instance of the saturator being used as a gate. Some shifting going on for some reason. And yeah, that's it. That's pretty much it. Nothing crazy, just emphasizing, more emphasizing, and more emphasizing. And of course, clipping everything together afterwards. We have... This is from something, right? Oh yeah, this is again from another whip that I'm not finishing. Probably because, you know, this idea would not go further from this little bass, so I say, what the hell, let's use it again. And a sub. And this layer, which is clearly this one being pitched at some other pitch. Yeah, 1 octave and 1 whole tone higher. And then all of this is being affected by this group. I'm pushing all of those frequencies back down because I'm gonna emphasize them even more with overdrive. I really like the tone of overdrive again, so that's why I like to push everything back up with it. And then very heavy OTT, even more overdrive. This grain delay comes up at some point, and mostly compression to make everything nice, but it's still fucking loud as hell because everything is going back into this big rack. You know, this rack. This super loud bit from the main bass to create some very slight glitch that I really like. Because it's being so loud and everything is getting clipped together, so we have a very tiny transient that has a lot of low end, and it crashes everything. But because it's very, very tiny, it just crashes everything for just a tiny moment. And that's it. And I really like that. Alright, next section. This one works because it is in this big rack, you know, this rack. Let's take out the rack and listen to this. It kind of works, but it's not as pretty, and it doesn't make sense in the context of everything else. It has to be with this big rack that is made for the big loud thing that is the foreground of the track. And also, let's take out all of those effects. It's kind of dumb. I'm playing this note, which is it the D sharp? Pretty sure it is. Yes, it's the D sharp, but this, what you're hearing, is not a D sharp. It's at ratio 7, which is, I guess, playing the 5th. And we have here another operator, which is the same thing, but playing at ratio 6, which is the 4th. So we have this kind of weird chord going on, and we have the fundamental being played. Those are only so's with different overdrives. This first one has an overdrive playing the whole thing, taking the whole thing. The second one is more emphasizing the lower range for the top end to be more muted in a way. And the so wave playing the fundamental is being taken up by the overdrive on all of the spectrum. And there we have a sub that is very, very low for some reason. And the reason is that this whole rack is pushing everything back up. And let's watch it. So I'm throwing first into a EQ3 in there just for playing with the phase. So it sounds a bit different. This fucking EQ messes up the phase. And that's fine, because that's how I want to use it. I didn't really know it was gonna do that, but it did, and I don't know, I prefer it this way. some overdrive, and more EQing, not EQing, more EQ3. And you may know this by now because it's kind of getting old, but this is how you make a homemade free disperser, is by having multiple EQ3s together. And because it messes up the phase so much, it acts like a disperser at some point. A cheap disperser. Some delay for the stereo, and it kind of phases, so I kind of like it even more. Some very heavy compression, so we're not just compressing, we're distorting super hard, but we are distorting into this rack, this rack. So now we have low end. Okay, can I get into this group, please? So again, these are the same elements that were used right before. Sound design sessions and everything. Nothing crazy. It's just being used. I think the notes are longer. Yeah. The only thing that changes is this layer. Yeah, it's just this layer being longer. So I just nudged this whole thing and found another spot I really liked and used it this way, and so it makes for a nice variation. And we have what is this? Ooh. Same weird bass as before. Yeah, just being pitched super high, and that's it. All right, now on to the break. So I'm taking the intro again. I just took out lots of elements from the beginning of the intro. Basically everything that was a melody. So this is a way of making it more tense. And now we're getting back into the build-up, and I think there's not a lot of variations besides. No, there's even this resampled bass from the drop that was already in there. I think there are more risers. Operator. Some resampling of the intro. Those risers were there all at the beginning. Yeah, there's like just one more riser. And that's it. The second drop was created when everything was already rendered, which was a great help because I had no idea at this point. So this is, it's basically the same patch I did for the in the first drop, but here the ratios are the same between those two. One of those has an LFO. It's the same LFO that I showed at the beginning, with being the so down. And I'm just playing with different ratios during all this time. The note, the MIDI note is still the same. I'm just playing with the ratio and the fine of everything. But yeah, it's basically the same patch, and I just took the whole rack that was, this rack, back here so I could use it again, because I muted I'm not using this group, the main group, for the renders, but I needed this rack for this. And this is the render of this one. As a layer in harmony. And now the rhythmic session is more sound design sessions stems from the main drop. It's very messy, but everything is being clipped together with the sub. So we find now some more order. It's basically the same kind of process, just pushing super hard the low end and then OTT everything to bring back everything together. I'm not using overdrive at this time. I'm using OTT super hard to compress everything back down and then clip everything together. But it's basically the same process as, you know, this rack. The only variation here is the lack of this layer. And at this point, where everything is clipped so hard together, it doesn't matter. The amplitude will not change because everything is just pushed so hard. Like every change you will do in the mid-range with those layers will just be a tone management, let's say. So I could play with the pitch of all of those. The tonality will not be lost because I have my low end pushing everything up and clipping everything. This is from a sound design session. This is from a sound design session, probably the same. And this is from Manifolds. And this is a sub. And that's basically it. We have some backgrounds. Yeah, it's basically just my risers being resampled. And of course this. This is from a bass that I designed that was supposed to be some kind of a mock-up of Space Laces with the very convenient name of High Pitch. Yeah, triangle waves. Use it. Some risers that I made prior. Resampling from the intro. There's even more resampling from the intro. And this is resampling. Oh, I didn't show that. Holy shit. So those. They're in the ads group. So it's that same process I was talking about earlier, which is having very loud and somewhat wide and taking all of the spectrum elements super short to crush everything. And that's something, again, that I really like. The main bass is very wide, and I need elements that are very narrow, very that are a really nice contrast to this bass. So having something like this that will also crush everything is fucking nice to listen to. And this kind of thing, this is actually from a sound that is in one of my Patreon packs. I think the latest. Latest, I mean, the quite old one, but the last I did. Yeah, it's just by taking whatever, stretching it super hard and compressing it, playing with some very slight distortion and pushing the low end and then gating everything with some wave shaping. And you get this kind of stuff. But I really like to resample it to just find funny ways to use it. Okay, now all I have to tell you is that the stems from Manifolds will be available on my Patreon for this amount of money. All right, see ya.